Hi, this is Arnold Mangioli for Grateful, Ready, Open, Willing.
Yes.
And I'm absolutely delighted to be here in the first of what I hope will be a short series of videos talking to the person to whom I refer as the legendary Sandy Campbell. Sandy Campbell is one of the premier, in my opinion, is the premier accompanist of Broadway and has held that position for many decades. And when people ask me my greatest influences in the theater and what's kept me in for so long, this lady is a big part of it. She has great stories, incredible experiences, and I have been begging her for about a year to come on with us and to share some of them. So we're just going to do a short segment, and then hopefully I can coax and coerce her into a few more. So, Sandy Campbell, I used to say you were the first female conductor on Broadway, but you would correct me because that's not exactly accurate, right?
Right.
You were the third,
I think I was the fourth. And as
fourth.
far as I know, it
Okay.
was Liza Redfield, Karen Gustafson. I've forgotten the third one. She was the conductor of a show. I was her assistant, so not to remember her name is terrible. I'm
Uh,
sorry, but I didn't know you were going to ask these things, and I would have done my homework.
it was a while ago. No, no, that's okay. I'm going to keep throwing curveballs.
It was
So you were the fourth female conductor on Broadway,
so I was the fourth person that I know of to conduct.
the fourth woman,
Fourth woman, yes.
obviously. And what
I
show
might
was
have
that?
third. I might have preceded. It was it was it was
Well,
oh
you always told me you were the third. So whether you went in as associate and then ended
I
up
assisted
conducting,
her afterwards because I had already that's
I
all.
got you. Do you remember the name of the show?
Well, if I were prepared, I could it was at the Winter Garden, and uh it was
Uh,
Seema Rubin was the producer.
while
Oh,
you're doing while you're doing that, I'm just going to share with everyone. This is the resume of the legendary Sandy Campbell,
well, I can't
um,
see what
which
it says.
goes
Let's
on forever. What I love about this resume, Sandy, you can look over the titles. What I love about this resume is that you know how an actor's resume has a three-column format that goes, the show and the role they played and where it was done, what theater or producer. If you look closely at this resume, Sandy just has four columns of Broadway shows that she has worked on over many, many, many years, and and we're going to talk about some of these today and in the series ahead.
So
But
go on my look and does it say conductors on another place?
uh, I don't know, does it?
Musical. Let's see what it says there.
Associate conductor at the bottom there,
Oh, there it is, Dr. Jazz.
Dr. Jazz. All
Where's
right.
did I have Dr. Jazz on that list?
It shows up backwards on my screen, so I have to look. The thing I love is when somebody has been on Broadway long enough that we can't even remember what shows we've done, and some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, Sandy, what happened when you got that baton? When you were the third or fourth female conductor on Broadway? What did your union call you and say?
Oh, I was taking a man's job away from him in order to buy a fur coat, and the union was complaining, and I shouldn't have that job.
Wow.
It sort of went ballistic. I really lost it. I went over to the union and screamed at them. First of all, it's none of their business that they could tell me not to take a job away from a man. I wasn't taking a job away from a man. I was taking a job. And I had two little boys, and my husband had split, had left. I had nobody, but that's not their business. And I told them.
Well, their
When was
business
the
is
last
to
I heard of
support
that?
you.
What?
Their business is to support you. Their business is to
Yeah,
support their
yeah, I
members.
paid
You're a
my
union
taxes,
member.
my union fees every year. So what's the problem here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
this would
don't
have
know.
been the 1960s, is that right? 60s,
This is the
70s,
60s.
60s. Yeah. So for anybody who's interested in a sense of theater history, we think of ourselves as so progressive and so liberal, but this actually happened, and I think that's really an extraordinary thing. So you have told me that you came to New York to be a Broadway accompanist.
Oh
That
yeah.
that was your That's what you were
I,
here for.
my dream actually was to be a Broadway composer, but I figured I can't tell them that because they'll laugh at me because I'm a girl and girls can't compose, you know. So because when I was in high school and I said I was going to go to Broadway and do Broadway shows, they laughed at me. So I went, well, I'm not going to tell anybody else because I don't want to be laughed at. And so my big secret was to start out as an audition pianist, a rehearsal pianist on Broadway, and get people to trust me enough and like me enough and listen to me enough to that, in spite of the fact that I was a girl, I could still compose, you know. And that was my plan. And I totally expected it to take years. I had no problem with how much time it would take. But during the time that I was learning how to do my job, you know, my profession, I loved every moment. I loved to this moment, to this time. I love accompanying. It's just glorious, and uh, I would never give it up. It's so strange. Even though I were a composer, it would be really. I guess nobody would let me be an accompanist if I were a famous composer.
Well, well,
They
it's
won't let me
interesting.
be an accompanist, you know. But
In the last 2 or 3 decades, so many of the young musicians coming up who accompany have no aspirations to be an accompanist. They come in and their goal is to be a conductor, so they accompany to audition themselves for associate conductor and conductor jobs. They want to get in with the music director, and I come from the old school where when I came on the Broadway scene, it was the 80s and it was at Hughes Moss. And I had been certainly around Broadway and I had been in casting offices, some commercial casting offices, some small offices and such. But when I got to Hughes Moss, it was one of the major Broadway casting
I worked
offices.
for them a lot.
Yeah. And I just remember they would say to me, please call Sandy Campbell to see if she can accompany these days. And I was like, I hear that name a lot. They were like, Sandy Campbell is the premier accompanist on Broadway. That's the person you call. There's no one else. And if you can't get Sandy, if we can, we'd rather change the audition day if she's not available to have her because she's that good. And I remember it just struck me that an accompanist in an audition room, of course, can make or break someone's audition in so many ways. But it never occurred to me that 50 appointments in a day would sometimes center around the ability to get this one person there. And you were the one person. So by the time I met you, I was like, oh my God, you're Sandy Campbell. I was so excited. And I guess at that point you were probably all the way to Grand Hotel and working on that show because that was the one you
That
became.
was Hugh Moss.
That was Hughes Moss, and you became associate conductor on that one.
Yeah.
And remember how when the workshop was done, it was at the old Lambs Theater. What I thought it was at the Lambs Theater. It was in a
No,
wrecked
it
up
wasn't the
space.
Lance. It was actually I was just by there the other day. I was walking down Sixth Avenue and I looked there. It was like 44th Street between Sixth and Seventh on the south side of the street, and I saw this huge building. You know, the hotel that I had done the rehearsals in
Yeah.
that had been torn down, and
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's what I thought. I mean, the Lambs was right around there. So and we were walking from the office on
yeah,
43rd. So
same
yeah.
idea.
And what I remember is Tommy Tune had staged this show with like 24 chairs or something. And they were just gold came back chairs. And everyone thought the show was so great and couldn't wait to see it done with like a grand set and all of that. And Tommy said, no, that is the set. I'm using the chairs.
Right.
And everybody was like, that's the show. You mean we just saw the show? And then, of course, it
The
was,
thing about Tommy is he had incredible style. He just smelled it. He looked at it. He understood it. Whenever I played the auditions, of course, uh, and he got it. He just knew who belonged on the stage, and he knew those chairs belonged on the stage.
yeah, totally. I also remember.
There was nobody to tell him. People couldn't, you know, nobody would talk him out of it because what's the point? He knew what he knew.
Yeah, I remember in auditions, I would hand him the picture and resume of the actor coming in, and he would look at it and he would look at me and he would look at the actor and he would say to the actor, I'm not even going to look at this. And he would place it down on the floor. And, he was so tall that he would go all the way down to the floor and put the picture on the floor. And he would, not rudely, he would just gesture gently and say, that's that. I want to see you.
Yeah, right.
And he would just take in whoever you were in that moment and what you did. And that was so evident in his work. The people were just, they really were I mean, in that show, my God, Karen Akers and Michael Jeter and David James Carroll, of course, and Liliane Montevecchi. I mean, the people were the people,
And
so wonderful.
we won a Tony Award. I mean, of course, I can't remember her name, which makes me crazy. Who was the girl who won the Tony Award for
Jane
best?
Krakowski.
Jane. Oh my God. Yeah, and she was wonderful. She's so smart. Then they put her and we got to Boston, so everybody got their clothes and to see what they're going to look like on stage, and I was by the dressing room for us for musicians, and I looked around and Jane was saying, you can't do. They made her hair look like some kind of 20s hair, and she wanted her curlies, which is she had to have it. She was so cute, and the curly things made her look kind of old and dumpy. And then the dress they had on her which was all the girls who were supposed to be little stenographers,
Yes.
and all the girls had the same dress, and they were all like to the what's that called, the thigh, not the thigh, the part of your leg way down,
Mid thigh?
the calf. And she said, no, 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 I have good legs. Let me see my. So they even though in the style of the 20s, they had to have longer skirts. She had them above, and all the girls then they had to have above their knees. They looked so cute. They were all
Fabulous.
so cute because she just insisted on it, making them look good. And
Fabulous.
I guess I guess as soon as she complained to Tommy, of course Tommy would know that that was the look and not making them look like these old dowdy thingies.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. So much happens in process. People don't realize over the course of rehearsals how many things change and then just seem like they were always there and are great ideas, but came from the collaboration of the actor and the director and
well, the
saying,
actors are very important
"Mm, for
because
sure.
the actors can tell you how they feel, and she knew that she didn't feel like this girl who was going to flirt and try to get a husband and all the things. She was just going to feel dowdy.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
Let me tell you about that audition. I remember back in those days, it's hard for people to comprehend, but we had no email and we had no digital transmission. And to get her in for her audition, we had to FedEx her.
fly her in.
Yeah, and
LA.
that was all. That was all doable.
She didn't have any music.
That's right. So here's what happened. It was Memorial Day weekend. It was the Friday of Memorial Day weekend,
That's amazing.
and we had to get her in.
Yeah.
And everybody was leaving the office because it was Memorial Day weekend. And if you remember, in those days, we worked so hard, but we actually left on weekends. And everybody, Julie, Barry, Jessica, Peter, they all left. And I said I would stay. And I stayed in the office. And at 10 o'clock that night, I was just sitting there reading a book, whatever I was doing. 10 o'clock that night, the phone rang. And I picked up and I heard a voice say, oh my God, I can't believe someone's still there. Hi, this is Jane Krakowski. I said, hi, Jane, this is Arnold. I'm sitting here with your script in the FedEx envelope. If you give me your address, I can still get it over to FedEx. You'll have it this weekend and we'll see you for the audition on Tuesday. And so I took her address and we're still friendly to this day because of that, because, that would not have happened had I not been waiting there and able to get her the script, because the audition would have been Tuesday morning. And we didn't have those kind of phone systems where, we
Right.
didn't have cell phones. They couldn't reach us. So, yeah, that was just a wonderful connection we had. And she's a doll. It's just wonderful.
She's just healthy. She's a healthy human being,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, that you like her, that you're seeing what you get, what you see. No, you see what you get. That
What you
was,
see is what you get.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved her.
Well,
Yeah.
that went very fast, but we're almost at 15 minutes. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us. And I think I'm going to be able to coax Sandy into doing another segment. So welcome and thank you for being here at Grateful, Ready, Open, Willing. And thank you, the legendary Sandy Campbell. And we'll hope to see you all again, maybe tomorrow.